Today on the We Are More Than Moms podcast, we're sitting down with the incredible Amanda Kloots. You probably know her as a co-host on The Talk, Broadway performer, Dancing with the Stars contestant, fitness entrepreneur, New York Times bestselling author, and now founder of the wellness brand Proper Health. But beyond her impressive career, Amanda has become a powerful voice for resilience, positivity, and reinvention, especially through her journey as a mother. In this episode, we dive into how she's navigated profound loss, found strength in unexpected places, and continues to create a life full of meaning and joy with her son, Elvis. Amanda opens up about the mindset practices that keep her grounded, how she maintains her signature optimism, even through hardship, and what motherhood has taught her about integrity, growth, and starting over. This is a conversation about hope, reinvention, and finding light, even in the hardest chapters, and we can't wait for you to hear it. Welcome, Amanda.
Hi, guys.
That was a crazy introduction. You've done a lot.
You.
She's done a lot.
You've done a lot. So, obviously the name of our podcast and our platform is More Than Moms because we really believe that we are innately multifaceted. And from that introduction and really you've lived so many different lives. How do you feel like motherhood has shaped you within those different lives? Has it brought out new things, new sides of you, new passions?
I think, yes, definitely. I think motherhood has inspired me in so many ways. My children's book, for one. I remember when Elvis was born right away, I was, I'm sure you guys can relate. You start saying silly rhymes and making up silly songs, and you're doing these new routines that you've never done in your entire life. And all of a sudden I was like, I want to write a children's book. So that would have never come from anything other than just being inspired by Elvis and being a mom. But I think above all, I think it grounded me. I think it taught me a lot about patience. I found a whole new centered calmness in being a mom, which maybe sounds ironic, but it's true. And then especially as being a single mom, just, all the different ways that it has shaped me and our relationship together has just been so special. So, definitely.
One thing I so admire is that you said, I wanted to do a children's book and I just created a children's book. Do you know, so many people have ideas and don't actually execute. And I think execution is one of the hardest things for most people, but I think especially for women, we always say but I'm not ready, but what does ready even mean? So I'd love to hear your thoughts about how you have an idea, you get excited by it, and then you actually execute.
Yes. A great example of that is when I wanted to start my fitness app. So I had been teaching in the city in New York, and
Best
you
class.
both have come.
Yes.
And my fitness business was thriving, but it was all live classes. And then when we moved to Los Angeles, I had Elvis. He was 3 months old. And I had videos that you could purchase, it sounds so old, but you could download a video and you could purchase that. But I knew I wanted to create an app platform. And then COVID hit, and I really needed actually just to get an app platform so that I could make money. And I remember thinking oh my gosh, before COVID, I just was I have to do this when I look perfect and when I have the perfect space and when I have enough money and when I have the perfect outfits and the perfect space and lighting and camera crew. And so I was not doing it because in my head, I thought of all of those things and all of those things having to come first. And then COVID was a great sign of, actually, you don't need to be perfect. Just do it. Just get your material out there. And I remember filming app videos in the backyard of where I was staying. And they're still up on my app. You can still watch those videos. Some of them are the highest performing videos that I have. And they're literally in the backyard of the place where I was staying. So I think my lesson in answering your question, and my lesson is just to do it, because the timing is never going to be perfect, and nothing's ever perfect, and nothing is ever perfect, or should it ever be perfect. So just do it.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that is probably one of the hardest things for people, especially moms. They become mothers and they have this identity crisis, we call it, where they're I don't want to be doing what I did before. I want to pivot. But there's confidence that comes with it. What would you say would be the driving force behind your confidence? I mean, you've been on TV, you're a talk show host, you've been Dancing with the Stars. How do you gather that confidence and really let it shine?
I think when I really look back on this, because I've been asked this question a lot, and I think that it comes from my Broadway training. when you're auditioning for Broadway shows, you're getting told no constantly, like 5 times a day. You're getting told no, you're not good enough. No, you don't sing well enough. You don't dance well enough. You're too tall. You're too blonde. I mean, whatever it is, it's always a no, most likely. And you just have to come back the next day hoping that it'll be a yes, the next audition that you're at. And so I think that is what built up my confidence and resilience. I remember getting to a point in my Broadway auditions being like, I'm going to walk in this room and I'm just going to be me. And no one else is me. I have that going on for me. Like, I can promise you that. The woman behind me or in front of me might sing better than me. She might dance better than me, but I'm me and she can't be me. So I'll bring what I can to the table. And so I think that's kind of what built my confidence, having that training year. I mean, I did Broadway for 16 years. So that's 16 years of resilience that I built up, that thick skin that I think now, and I actually just did it this morning. I wrote a very brave email that could be laughed at. Seriously, it's pretty brazen and brave. And I ended it being like, I know this isn't typical. I know this isn't probably how things are done in Hollywood. However, I've chosen to live my life and I've chosen to always ask, because if I don't, then the answer for sure is no. So I need to ask. Thank you, Amanda Kloots.
No,
and I sent the email. So we'll see. But you know what I mean? That's just how I live my life now.
I think that, first of all, I'm like, I want Broadway training because I feel like that's good to build anyone's thick skin. But I think it's so true. I think we're so afraid of rejection. We're so afraid of messing up. And when you're forced to be in a situation where every single day you get rejected, and then that one time you get that yes, just for being you, it's like the best confidence boost. And especially because people get so discouraged when they hear no. And then they're like, oh, maybe this isn't for me. Let me close the door. But you really have shown up, especially online, to keep going, to keep believing. And I think that's so incredible.
Well, thank you. And I want to remind all the listeners and you guys here, I get told no on a daily basis still. I mean, I'm constantly pitching out ideas, sending out emails, constantly getting told no. So I still am living this life. Even in sending that email today, I was like, I could be laughed at. They might laugh at me by sending me this email, but oh well, I look silly. But what if they read this email and they're like, you know what? Let's reach out to Amanda Kloots. What if that's the scenario? So we
always assume the worst and we never think of but what if?
Yeah.
What if they say yes?
Yeah. What if they say yes?
Why are we always thinking about the worst?
I know we do.
Always. I was just telling Dale, for preschool, I was thinking 2 months ago, every single day for the last 2 months, thinking about how awful it's going to be and separation anxiety, and she's going to cry and I'm going to feel so bad. And I took her preschool. And she's so happy and she never cried. And it's just why did I spend all of those hours worrying and all the headspace thinking about it?
Right.
But anyway, you mentioned resilience from the Broadway days. And it's interesting in retrospect now, probably how that training has really set you up for all the things and challenges that have come to your life. Because I guess started following you after that Broadway training. And I saw this resilience really kick in when Nick passed away and how positive you were and all of that. And I thought it was just kind of the positivity and resilience kicked in then, but it's interesting to hear that you kind of had that from before. So how did that kind of help you, and maybe walk through it to our listeners if people don't know, which I feel like most people do, that time in 2020?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny. I was just thinking about this the other day, actually. My husband was in the ICU for 95 days and fighting for his life every single day. And I was eventually allowed into the hospital, and it was the first time I had been in that environment before. So that's good, because when you're green, you have no idea what to expect and you don't know what's going on. And so in that way, you're like, well, why wouldn't he survive? You know what I mean? You're like, he's 41 years old. He's going to live. I know things look bleak, but tomorrow they're going to be great, was my outlook. And I just choose to be a believer. I choose to have that faith. I think that comes from being raised in religion, believing in something bigger than me. So I've always had faith. And then I think the Broadway training, like I said, brought on that resilience of like, you're not going to tell me no, I'll be right back here tomorrow. And then even in that hospital, it was like, they would tell me Nick's not having a great day or that he's going to die that day. And I'd be like, no, he's not. And I'd make sure it didn't happen that day. I mean, I don't know. It just is like the power of believing, and telling yourself one thing. Like you said, you have to tell yourself the positive outcome. That was a battle though. I mean, those hospital days, and anyone that has gone through anything similar knows how bleak and dark, especially the ICU can be. And especially at that time during COVID when nobody knew what was going on. I mean, it was such a struggle to stay positive and to stay resilient. But I had to. I had a little baby at home who wasn't even one. And I had a 41-year-old husband that was fighting for his life. So it was like, there was no other option. You know what I mean?
I also loved how you rallied community around you, because I think it's easy to maybe like shut down and feel isolated and go inwards. But instead you took to social media and you were like, there's power in numbers for prayers. And like, I just remember like feeling like I'm like right there with you, like, blasting
thanks.
the song and all that stuff. So I think what you really did, and you set such a good example of like bringing people all together to like rally and to pray together. And like the collective is bigger than one.
Well, thank you very much. I will forever thank that army of social media people that was just like, it was a lifeline for me, for sure, in all ways. Support, singing, medical advice. I mean, it was like, yeah, I felt like I had like a third arm with all of everybody's support.
Yeah, I remember everyone I know was just like rallied behind you, because it was just unimaginable. So when, you had to accept that your life moving forward as a single mom, like how did you lean on support? What were your courses of action? Because I know there are single moms in the community, and how do they move forward?
Yeah. It was the craziest thing, I think, when you go into marriage and then you have a baby and it's your first child with your husband, and you have all these hopes and dreams of raising your child together or having more children. And then that shock was tremendous, and it didn't really honestly hit me right away because so much was going on. And I had my mom and dad with me for a little while, which helped. And then I think what saved me was I just built a family here. I had some great friends that, thank God, ended up just living down the street that were like my saving grace. And I had my best friend here who was saving grace. And I just started building a family because I had lost one. So I had to build a new one. And I would say that anyone that's in that kind of boat that's like my best advice. Like Elvis and I have an extremely strong bond, one that I treasure and I know wouldn't exist if Nick still were alive. So I have to find silver linings, and that is one. Like our bond is insane, and it happened right away when I told him, even though he was one at the time, I told him it was just the two of us now. And it's like he knew, like he hugged me and he knew. And we've just been inseparable ever since. But I couldn't have done it without the family that I have created here now in Los Angeles.
Wow. Yeah. What is so inspiring about you is it launched like a 2.0 version of yourself. And this can really break someone. And what was so inspiring to see is that you took this and you let it empower you to be this amazing version of yourself that maybe, that version would have been discovered. And now your son gets to watch how, this amazing, resilient mom. So that's like beautiful. And we've had friends that were a friend that was in a similar situation, lost her husband, and also to see her at a son at a similar age, to see her launch her 2.0 version is just amazing. So it can really inspire moms who are feeling like they don't have hope to see that in you. And
oh, well,
yeah.
Thanks. I mean, I felt like I sort of had to, I mean,
sure.
I only had my fitness business at the time when Nick passed away. We had nothing in place because we never expected him to pass away at 41. We didn't even have a will, So I was 38 at the time. And I was looking at my little baby being like, I have to make sure you have a future. I have to take care of us now. I'm the sole person and we have a home. We have a mortgage. I have a car, I have a car payment. I have and it's all on me now. It's not, it's my responsibility to send you to college, to prepare your way. Like it's a lot on someone's shoulders. So for me, it was just kind of like, all right, here we go. Like you gotta start working. You gotta start
like
thinking,
a fire
planning.
under you.
Yeah, it did. But I think, and again, maybe this goes back to like being 18 and just charging forward and trying to make my dreams on Broadway come true. It's like I've always been a hustler. I've always loved to work, and I always love being creative. So it was a fire and it was a need, but it also was like, okay, time to create Amanda 2.0. Yeah.
And how do you find, like, do you feel like you went into like action mode right away, or did you have this time of like processing everything? Because I know grief goes through waves and it's not like okay, I'm done now. It's like a constant in your life. So how did you handle that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still processing grief. It hits you all the time. I mean, like a ton of bricks. And I think even worse when you have a child, because you're watching the child grow and you're doing all of these like things with your kid. And so every milestone, of course, you're missing the person that isn't there, So
I'm sure you also see like Nick in him.
Oh, yes. Yeah. He's like, I mean, he has his dad's eyes. He has his dad's crazy hair. He has, all of it. It's just, Right before Nick passed away is when HarperCollins reached out to me about writing a book about what was going on. And so when we decided to do that, my sister and I, 2 weeks after he passed, I was back home in Ohio with my mom and dad, and I started writing. So that actually, though, helped me process a lot. And I think because when you are living at the hospital, which I pretty much was, I had so much going on in my head that I remembered that I hadn't really processed, that like just things that you just start thinking about in a way that you possibly couldn't think about any other way if your life was normal. So to write it all down was so helpful. So it did help me start that process. But I think that, grief is so different from anybody. And I mean, for sure, the first 6 months you're like living, I always say it's like you're an astronaut in space looking down at Earth, like you're in your suit and you're like not connected to anything and you're just floating and you're looking down at the world like I'm supposed to be there, but I just feel like I'm just floating in outer space. And you're just like looking down at everything. That's kind of, and you can't really hear anything because you have your big helmet on. Everybody sounds muffled. Everybody sounds far away, but you have this protective suit on, protecting you from all the pain that you're feeling. Like it's awful. You know what I mean? But I do thank God for the chance that I had to write that book, because it really helped me start processing things right away.
You can tell that it was like very raw, like in the moment. Like it didn't feel like there was like time in between from writing it and when it happened.
Because there wasn't. But I'm very, very grateful for that, because I look at that book now, and if I tried to write that story now, I wouldn't remember.
Because you had written down everything. I remember like all the doctor's notes.
Yeah. I mean, when I wrote that book, I remembered dates and numbers and tests like the back of my hand. I wouldn't remember any of that now. And for Elvis to have that documentation is so important. So I'm so grateful that Lisa Sharkey, I love her at HarperCollins, was like, nope, get to work. I was like, okay.
And it's nice that you were able to do it with your sister too.
Yes. Yeah.
So special.
It was the best.
Was it overwhelming? Because at that time, your account was exploding. People were probably coming left, right, and center, wanting you to be on, whether it was a book or a talk show or anything. Like, was it just like, what is happening? Or was it exciting? Like, was it a mix of both? Because I can imagine just feeling like I need to dive into all these things, but also processing, as you mentioned. Like,
I look back at it now and I'm like, I don't know how I did it. There's a part of me that can compartmentalize a lot of things. That's just always also how I've been, which is maybe good and also maybe kind of demented, I guess, because like I can get the worst news of my life and then go on live television and be like, hello, everybody, welcome to the talk. And that's what I was doing basically for the first year of grief. I would say I lost Nick in July. I started doing guest co-hosting spots on The Talk. So that's a live television talk show in October. So that's literally August, September, 2 months off. And then I was, on live television. So raw still. I mean, there's some episodes on The Talk where I just broke down and was crying. I look back on it now and I'm like, how did I do that? And was it good? Was it healthy? But I think in the end it actually was, because I'm used to being in front of a lot of people. I'm used to doing live things from Broadway, especially. I'm used to being in that format. So that felt normal to me. And then also, The Talk was so special because it made me get up. It made me get out of the house. It helped me provide for my son at a time where I had no work, which was amazing. It made me feel like a confident and competent parent. And it also gave me an outlet, an hour every day to like talk and laugh and forget about my pain and my sorrow. So it was like, it's a twofold, like it was really hard. And sometimes I would come home and just lay on bed the rest of the day and just cry or cuddle Elvis or manage to get through the day. And other days I'd be completely fine, So it's just like, you never know what to expect.
And how did you manage all of that being like a working single mom, like while Elvis is there too? I know you mentioned community and your family is amazing and has been super present, but
I had a lot of help. I had a ton of help. And again, though, luckily that job was really only like 2.5 hours out of my day. So it was perfect. I would have a good friend come over and babysit Elvis while I would go do The Talk, and I would come home. I'd be done by 12:30 and I'd have the rest of the day with him. So it was like it was such a blessing, because it was like this little big thing that I got to do every day, but didn't take me away from him.
So special.
But gave me enough time. And I think you guys understand this too. And I think a lot of moms do. There comes to a point where you also need time for yourself, So not only did I need time for myself as a mom, but then I needed time for myself as a grieving mom and a grieving woman, So it was, it helped me with all of those things.
Yeah. And to give you an identity outside of mom.
Yes.
Which is something that we talk about a lot, because regardless if it's a career or a passion, to have something else other than the title of mom, I feel, and I know Dale does too, makes me a better mom when I do come home.
Yes. Same for me too. And I know that that's sometimes different for everybody, but I am the same way. I love having a multitude of identities.
Yeah, no, you like juggle so many hats. It's unbelievable. And what about your fitness? So you still had AK.
Yep.
You're still, putting out videos. Was it really helping you like carry you through, like really pour into yourself? Or was it something that you had to put on the shelf? Like how was your relationship with fitness?
Yeah. Well, through Nick's battle at the hospital, I kept working out, because working out saves me mentally, mostly. Mentally, it's like the biggest stress reliever and anxiety. I could get the worst news. I'd go outside, put on music, jump rope, even if it was for 10 minutes, and I would feel like a whole different person. So I never stopped doing that. And then when I was doing The Talk, I still taught every Saturday morning live here in LA at Bandier. At the time, it was still here. And they had a great studio. It's now closed, unfortunately. But I never let it go, because I knew how much teaching helped me. And I feel like, again, when you're grieving or going through massive trauma, it's like you have to remember the things that help you. You know what I mean? Remember the things that bring you joy, because the joys are so small that don't get rid of the joyous things. And people were asking me like, why are you teaching right now? Why are you doing this? You don't need to. You have a great job now. Take Saturday mornings off. And it was like, no, you don't understand. Like it helps me. Like teaching, I love to work out. It makes me smile. It makes me happy. But again, I get to connect with people and I get to be around people, and it brings me joy. And so I never stopped doing it, and I still am doing it today. And my fitness it was my baby. It was the first time I became an entrepreneur. It was my first company, and I never want to stop teaching if I don't have to.
Yeah, connection is really everything. Like I think sometimes we as humans, we sometimes hibernate when we're in a hard period of time, because it feels quote unquote easier to not face the world. But sometimes when you do face the world, even if it's hard, whether that's like on the talk or whether it's teaching a class, it feels really nice to connect with people to see like, oh no, I'm still normal. I'm still part of this.
Yeah. I just was in New York and I taught 2 days when I was there. And the second day after class, this woman came up to me and she was like, I haven't taken a group fitness class. She's like, I can't even tell you, maybe before COVID is the last time I took a group. She was like, thank you so much. She's like, I forgot how much I love being in a group, taking a class. Like it just is such a different experience and it's so much joy and it really makes you work harder. And I was like, I know. I mean, I still take group fitness classes. I took one this morning. I love to teach them, but I also love to go to other people's classes and be taught. And so I think you're right. Like it's so easy to get into your pattern and hibernate or just, do your own thing. But like, it's also nice to be in a group of people and have that energy. You need it.
So did you ever have like a pinch me moment? Like you got on the talk, Dancing with the Stars. Were you ever like, what is happening? Like, I can't believe I'm here. Like you just soared completely.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. I think when I did my Christmas movie on CBS.
Christmas movie. Oh, you've done so much.
I watched that too.
that was a huge pinch me moment because I had always, I had acted for years on Broadway, but I was mostly a dancer and no one really ever gave me a shot as an actress because I was such a dancer. And I hate to say that you're pigeonholed in that way, but you are. And that's okay. But like, it was so nice that CBS believed in me enough and they were like, no, we love this idea. We're going to do this movie. You're going to star in it. I executive produced it. And there were days on set that we were filming it up in Vancouver. And I was literally like, I cannot believe this is happening right now. And I'm starring in a Christmas movie. And this is like a dream come true. So like cool. That was a good highlight. Yeah.
I was just thinking like, how did I get here? This is so crazy. It moves so fast. And your son's now 6. So what's that like? What has your parenthood journey been like in terms of, going through the phases? You're out of the baby phase. You're out of like the toddler years. Like you have a child, like a full child.
I know,
who just started first grade.
Yeah, the first grader.
I mean, it's so funny. We are such a little interesting pair, the two of us, because we've been through so much together and I've had to take him wherever I go all the time. So we've traveled a lot together. He's such a fun travel buddy. I now hate leaving and not bringing him along. But, I think like the things I love the most are just like yesterday we're driving. I actually had to drive right here. I told you I was right here yesterday. And we were just making fun of each other and we were laughing so hard as I was driving because I said something to him and he just like he was being very negative and I was like, okay, negative Nancy. And he was like, did you just call me Nancy? And I was like, yeah, I did. I'm gonna start calling you Nancy when you're negative. And he started laughing so hard and we were both laughing. And I just like, those are my favorite moments. So like, yeah, I have like a full grown kid now that like laughs and jokes around with me. And our relationship is like so funny in that way and tight. Like, and it's so fun. I mean, I've loved every stage, I think, but I don't know. Everyone always tells you it just keeps getting better. And it kind of does. Although I am really craving a baby again. I'm like, how do I have another baby? I want a baby again.
I feel like that feeling never goes away. Yeah. Like, I feel like everyone I speak to, that's why they are just like, yeah, but I can't imagine getting to a phase where you're having like banter with your son. Like that's like,
but I also love and I've admired too of like how you've always incorporated him. And I know you've had to do it sometimes by necessity of like bringing him everywhere, but I also think it's so sweet, like him coming out on stage and like in his little suit, like I'll never forget that picture. But it just feels like you really incorporating him into your life. So he doesn't feel like, you're going away to go work or whatever. It's like, he's part of it. He knows what you're doing. He feels like so included in it. I think that's really special.
I've tried. I think it's a twofold of, it's like a threefold of having to just bring him along.
Right.
Also wanting him to experience everything because I've always just wanted him to be such a worldly guy. Nick's biggest wish for Elvis is that he was curious. So I feel like I'm trying to do justice in that. And then I promised Nick before I left, I'd show him this kid the world. And so I'm literally just trying to
Definitely
give him every opportunity I can.
You've definitely done that.
Oh, well, thank you.
Does Elvis ever ask you about, like, I know you talk about Nick a lot and he's very present still in your life with Elvis, but does he ever ask more questions, and how do you explain everything to him?
Yes, he does. And those have gotten, from very simple to getting a little bit more descriptive now. It's so tough because what a little brain at 6 years old can understand, and then how much information I should give him versus how much he'll learn in years to come. But I've always been very, very honest with him. I've always said since day one, your daddy got sick, he was in the hospital and he died. I've never tried to paint a different picture because I've always just felt like he should know the facts so that he's not in question about that. And that has served a great purpose because, I've witnessed him around friends go, my daddy died. And he's very confident in saying it. And he knows that it's just the two of us. But yes, questions are getting a little bit more difficult now to answer. And he definitely wants, more information. And what I've been just trying to do is I just always try to be very honest with him. And I think that's just secured our bond and our parent child relationship and our bond in Nick too, because to be honest, even there's days where like we go to bed and I'm just like, I really miss your daddy, Elvis. And he's like, I do too. But then like we bond over that. And it's funny because I'm like, he'll say I do too, but he doesn't really even have memories of Nick. He was 1 when he passed away. You know what I mean? I think he misses the idea of having a dad because he now is very much clocking that his friends have a dad and a mom and a brother or a sister and a dog, you know what I mean? And our family is just mom and me. So he's clocking a lot of that right now. But I don't know. I've just always been, trying to be very honest with him, like Nick's birthday's coming up and we always go out to eat and we celebrate Nick's birthday and we get a cake and we sing happy birthday to Dada. So like, I just try to keep him alive so that he doesn't feel like he doesn't have a dad.
So beautiful, and like so much respect for you. Like I cannot even imagine how hard that is. Did you like really listen to your intuition when it came to telling Elvis and being honest with him and all that? Or did you seek like support in terms of like people who've had this before or certain specialists?
No, I haven't yet. And I think that time is going to come very soon where I'd love to get him into some therapies just to help him process some things that have been coming up. But no, so far it was just kind of my gut on how to deal with that. And I don't know. I'm pretty happy with it, to be honest. And in doing a lot of grief talks and meeting a lot of grief experts and child experts in grief, luckily they've confirmed that I've done a good job and done the right things. So that's good.
No, I think it's amazing. And I think sometimes it takes hard moments for our intuition to like really kick in. Cause I think sometimes we can get so swayed. We talk about this all the time. We get very swayed by people's opinions and the noise and like, oh, but they're credible, so they must be right. But sometimes we forget to really tune into our intuition. And I think when times are hardest, we actually can tune in more.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I think that's very true.
Yeah.
So your most recent endeavor, which is amazing, is Proper.
Yes.
So tell us about it.
She brought us a bottle.
Yes, she brought us a bottle. And I know you've had a long career in health and fitness.
Yeah.
So would love to hear more about it and like why you started it, how you started it, all those things.
Yes. Okay. So the long short story is that, once I created Amanda Kloots Fitness, I decided to create my own jump rope. And then I created a little fitness mat. And I also had a CBD muscle relief pain cream for a hot second. And I just love creating products, especially products I believe in that I think are simple and can help just kind of like that everyday person with their health and fitness and wellness goals. It was after the CBD cream though that I kind of had a sour taste in building and creating things because I partnered with some people that kind of really just let me down and didn't turn out to be a good partner. And I learned my lesson, which was a good lesson to learn, but it also just kind of, made me a little disappointed in creating anything else. And then, my life took a huge turn and I moved to Los Angeles, became a television host, did all the things that we've been talking about. And then, of course, though, influencing things has always been a part of my life as well. And you guys know, I'm sure, that you get asked to influence things, and some things you love and some things you pretend to love. And, I would influence supplements all the time, or I would get influenced by some and end up buying them. And you try them and you think they're working, and then you can't stand the taste of them anymore. And you're like, I can't even look at that powder that's on my counter anymore. Or you spend $250 on pills and you take them, and then you're like, I can't shove another pill down my throat. And they just sit, and I call it your supplement graveyard that is on your countertop. That you just look at every day and you feel guilty that you've spent the money and that you're not taking them when you know you should.
And then they expire, and
then they expire and you throw them away, and you're like, oh God, I really So long story short, I had been thinking about doing some kind of powder, and I was like, is it a protein powder? Like, I'm not sure what it is. And I got introduced by a good friend to the amazing Ben Bennett, who is a genius brand creator from the Center Brands. And we sat down and he was like, if you were going to do something, what would you want to do? And I was like, well, after years and years of fitness and wellness and influencing and blah, 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 I'd love to create something that A, tastes good, that B, is affordable, and C, isn't something that's going to make you feel guilty. And by that, I mean that, like, again, these supplements, I wouldn't take them and I would feel guilty about it. And I know I'm supposed to take them every day, and I'm supposed to take 4 pills twice a day, and I'm not doing it. I took 2 and I feel guilty for not taking the other 6, but I don't want to, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, I just don't want to feel, I don't want anyone to feel guilty about it. And he was like, okay. He was like, so what if we created a supplement powder line where it was all based off of a person's needs, and you take them as you need them. So like, if you feel like you're not getting enough greens, you take the daily greens. If you feel like you're getting sick, you take the immunity. Or if you're going to fly and you're feeling like the flight's going to mess up your digestive system, that's when you want to take your digestion and bloat. Or maybe before your monthly cycle, you take it then. If I'm feeling like I'm anxious, I'll take the Calm. And I was like, this is amazing. This is what I want. I want it based off of what you need in the day or the week or the month. It's not necessarily something you have to do every single day. And I was like, can we make them affordable? Can we make them taste great? And he was like, yes. So Ben was also raised by a single mother, is from Ohio. So we both have that like Midwestern like spirit in us, where we know that person in Ohio is, can't afford the $200 supplement. They need the less than $1 a day supplement. So very proud to say that Proper not only tastes great, but is $28 a bottle, really has 30 servings, and it's less than $1 a day. And it is based off of your needs, what you need for that day. And you can take them every day, but you can also take it once a day. It's all for you and what you need. And it is inspired by the colors of the rainbow, because rainbows, especially ever since Nick left me, have been such a sign of resilience and wellness and happiness and joy. And I also just love the idea of, if these are out on your countertop, it's like an inviting rainbow that looks pretty, instead of, a thing of pills that stares at you angrily.
I love what you said about the guilty thing, because I also find that, like, if I only take 2 and I was supposed to take 5, and there's just like, there's so many things. And I think as busy moms, you just want something that is easy for you to put in your everyday, whatever that looks like.
Yeah. And the all or nothing thing, where it's like, okay, either I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it every single day, or I'm not going to do it at all. And then I end up doing nothing.
Right. So, and I also am always struggling to drink more water. You would think that as a fitness person, I drink water all the time, and I struggle all the time to get enough water. And I love flavored water. I love sparkling water. So I love that I can put this in my water, and it's not only making me drink more water, but it's making my water taste great, and it's good for me.
I love that. We're going to link that all in the show notes. So you mentioned rainbow signs.
Yes.
Okay. You've always well, since I've started following you, you've always been very into science, which is something I love because I think sometimes we go through life as robots sometimes and we don't see the signs that come to us because we're kind of oblivious to them. But when you actually look for signs, and we talk about this a lot in our next chapter group, which is all about rediscovering yourself after you become a mom, when you actually look for signs or say you're open to receiving them, they actually come in. So will you share a little bit about your practice when it comes to signs and how people can start? Because I think it really does help.
Yeah. So I think I've always been like the clock says 11:11, make a wish kind of person.
Same.
You know what? Now that I am thinking of this, it actually started when I moved to New York City and I was living and going to school. And I would go see the show 42nd Street all the time because it was on Broadway and it was a big tap show. And it was a show I knew that I could be in one day. And I would go get a student ticket and I would sit in the front row for $20 and I would watch the show. I think I saw it 15 times. And while I was going to school and walking around New York City, I swear to God, I always kept seeing dimes on the ground. I would always find dimes everywhere. Well, one of the big tap numbers in 42nd Street is We're in the Money, where they dance on dimes. And so I convinced myself that in seeing these dimes meant that one day I would be in this show. I would get 42nd Street and I would be, in the Broadway show. Lo and behold, 2 days before I graduated school, I booked the 42nd Street National Tour and I was dancing on a dime for my job. So I think signs are always there. We have to see them and we have to ask for them. And since Nick passed away, I read, I think it's Lauren Lynn Jackson's, the book, this just called Signs. And her first chapter was something like, you just have to ask. You can be quizzical if you want to, but if you really want to see the signs, just ask for them and be very clear in what you're asking for. And so I just started doing that. And it was, again, weeks after Nick died. And I just started asking for specific signs, songs on the radio, or I would ask for very, very distinct things. And they'd always appear. And they would appear a lot. So I think you just have to ask.
Did you say it out loud or did you write it down?
Most of the time I will say it out loud because
that
is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be very exact and say it out loud.
I think, you've just proven that you are a master manifester because that is, and it's such a buzzword these days, manifesting, and a lot of people don't know how to do it, but you really did. You got clear on what you wanted. You saw the signs. It's like the red car theory. Once you start thinking positively, how we speak to ourselves is so important because we attract what we look for, what we say, and our brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's fake.
Yep.
Our body doesn't know the difference. So I guess our body does, our brain knows, but our body. So it's when you are tuning in to the things that you want to see, you're going to see them more and then you're going to attract the right opportunities, which is what you've been doing, booking all these things that you wanted to book. It's guided you in such an amazing direction. So we love manifesting. And I think you brought it up earlier about faith. And I think whether it's faith or the universe or whatever you believe in, it's so important to kind of believe that there is this higher power because otherwise it's what you hold on to. So I think that's
Is
amazing.
that where you take a lot of your positivity from? Where did is that innate to who you are? We talked about resilience being from maybe Broadway days, but the positivity and optimism that you have.
I think that was instilled in us as little kids. I think I'd give that one to my dad. My dad, his motto is Carpe Diem. He was such a hard worker and he worked his way up in his company and always was just such a wonderful provider for our family, but always a very, very positive influence on all of us, my mother included. So I think I would definitely say I got that from my dad and just witnessing him every single day. And then I think faith does help you to be a positive person because, praying is usually a positive thing. So, just again, putting, your trust in something else. And then, I love vision boards. I love whiteboards. I put things down all the time on that just so that I see it visually every day. Doesn't even know if I'm taking it in, but subconsciously I'm seeing it every day. I will write stuff down as well. I'll write down like manifesting stuff that I want to manifest, but I'll also say it out loud. The more you put out into the universe, the more you get. You might as well put it out there. You have nothing to lose, you know? If people are like, that doesn't work, well, okay. Well, it also, what else doesn't work is that if I don't do any of it, that's for sure not going to work. So I don't know.
And getting clear on what you want. I think that's also something that a lot of people don't know how to do. But I think when people see, like what you said, you wanted to be on the Broadway show and seeing the dimes, like you got so clear on your vision. And I think that's amazing. Would you say there's any techniques that helped you get clear, or was just being exposing yourself to, a ton of different things?
Because you also live as Nick wanted Elvis to live, as curious. Like you're completely curious, all the different things that you are going into.
I mean, when I think about what I want to do or goals that I have or dreams that I have, I think definitely like writing them down. I mean, when I'm really going into like manifestation mode, I will write them down and I'll say them every day. Like I have like a little journal thing. And I'll go over like the whole list every day, like while I'm drinking my coffee, and I'll just say them out loud, like they're already happening, because that's what you're supposed to do. So I don't know. Yeah, I'll say that. And like, I mean, there's times where like I'll look back at them and I'm like, well, that didn't happen.
We all have those.
And and there's no way it will happen. You know what I mean? Like there's some things that you just have to let go of. But then it's amazing to be like, well, how'd that happen? And that happened. And that did happen 3 years later. Like, you know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, it's crazy because as I was looking through our emails, I looked up Amanda Kloots, and an email that we wrote to about a year and a half ago, someone asked us what our dream list was. And we had like 10 different people, and you were at the top of our list.
Yeah.
And I forgot we wrote that. And then I think we've gotten probably 70% of that list. And we were like, holy crap. At that time, we were like, this is ridiculous. Like, we're putting down names that we're never like getting, but we put it out there. And we were like, when we saw that, we were like, oh my God, that was a Pinterest moment, because so many of these guests that we just like look up to so much, and we were dreams when we started this podcast, are here. So
100%. What tips would you have for people who like maybe have that goal? So let's say your goal is like being on Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah.
How to not get overwhelmed by this like massive goal, and to just be like, okay, what can I do today? What can I do this week to make that dream a reality, but without getting so overwhelmed by the big picture that I'm not even going to start?
Oh, well, I think, yeah, that's a good one. I mean, I would just say that you have to just start like, breaking it down to the bones of what it is, like with anything. I mean, even it's like, if you want to start your own business, like before I started Amanda Kloots Fitness and teaching at Bandier, I had taught fitness 6 years before at Body by Simone. And before I started my fitness classes there, I had done probably almost at least 6 to 8 months of just privates, all around the city every day. So I was teaching private clients. So like working my way up to doing, the class that I wanted to create, which was my first class, the AK jump rope class. And I was like practicing it out. So I was like, you just like, you have to build it up, you know what I mean? And then eventually Amanda Kloots Fitness happened. But even when I launched that, it really kind of took 8 months for that to even start gaining speed. Once I started training Ariel Charnas and people were following her so much. And, it was a huge shout out to her. She taught me so much about social media and how to
She's the best. We've had her mom and Michaela on. We had Carrie and Michaela. We need to get Ariel. Yeah, you're listening.
No, I mean, I really like. She was the first person, because Instagram was sort of still new at the time, and I just remember learning a lot about like Instagram can help. And then she would start to tag me, and I would see like I was like, whoa. And then so she really did help me kind of like really kind of get my business booming. So that was amazing too. But that's like, again, years of prep. A lot of people just see the end result.
Right.
Totally.
They're like, oh my God, you started a fitness company and like everyone's there and it's like this huge success. And you're like, Well, yes, but
You don't see all of the other stuff.
I've been teaching at a studio for the last 6 years and busting my butt teaching privates and you know what I mean? Like, and building this class. And so like, it didn't just happen. You have to start from the studs.
The beginning phase is always the hardest, the longest. And it's the phase that you just really have to believe that things are going to work out because you don't get as much return. You might not get anyone interested. And then eventually like things will pick up and then things will start happening quick. But yeah, people don't see the beginning.
People don't see that. And the way that you continue is that you have to make sure that it's like authentic to yourself and you're passionate. So that was exciting for you. That's why you kept going every day. And that's where you're here today.
Yeah. But I mean, even people, I remember when I got the talk, they were like, oh my gosh, this is like so, crazy. Cause like they may have just started following me during COVID. And I'm like, it is crazy. But at the same time, I've been doing Broadway for 16 years. And then I started my fitness company and I was doing that in New York City for 2 years. I've been on television in front of cameras on morning TV shows from Broadway to the Rockettes to my fitness company for years. Being on a morning show, on a microphone in front of a camera is where I've been living. This is who I am. So to walk out on that set and host a TV show, there were some things I had to learn, but it was not out of my comfort zone. It was actually like the next normal step. You know what I mean? But again, people only saw me walk out on them like, now you're just a talk show host out of nowhere. And it's like, yes, but not really, but yes.
I also think that people like to box us into like, so Amanda's the dancer, right?
Yes.
Or like people like to put us in like boxes to help their brain. And the second we do something quote unquote out of left field for them, they're like, wait, no, like she's the dancer. She's not a talk host, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So I think, again, that's a them thing, not an us. And I think as we continue to grow, sometimes it's hard for people to accept our growth because it's much easier to be comfortable.
Yes. Yeah.
And it highlights other people's insecurities too and lack of sometimes growth.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Welcome. Thank you,
This was amazing.
This was
Thank you.
amazing. And where can everyone find you? We'll link everything in the show notes.
Yes. Honestly, I am terrible with technology. So your best bet is just to go to Instagram. I have all the other ones, but I don't update them as much. So at Amanda Kloots on Instagram. Proper can be found at Proper Health Official on Instagram. It also can be found in Target stores and Amazon.
Oh, amazing.
But yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you so much. This was a dream guest. We're so
Yes,
happy.
Thank you.
Thank you.